Rainforest, the richest habitat on Earth, teeming with millions of dramatic plants and animals. From giant landscape gardeners to a whole family supported by a single leaf. Here, tiny frogs and giant spiders can become friends. The parrots eat dirt. Kangaroos climb trees. And perhaps the birthplace of humanity, a habitat many people still call home. Rainforests face more threats than ever before, but remain the last stronghold for some truly astonishing animal families. Jungle. Dark. Scary. And mysterious to early explorers. Today, we know rainforests are some of the most wondrous and important habitats on Earth. Jungle lies between the tropics of Capricorn and Cancer. A tropical belt of green stretching across South and Central America, Central Africa, Indonesia, Malaysia, and Northern Australia. The green paradise is thanks to a lot of water. All rainforests are bathed by around 2 meters of rainfall a year. Creating the lush, humid vegetation. The world's biggest rainforest is the Amazon in Brazil. More than 5 million square kilometers of incredible plant diversity. The whole of the UK has just 40 species of trees. Here, there might be 300 different kinds in a few kilometers of jungle, as well as thousands of other plant species. Like all rainforests, the variation in plant life creates microclimates, different conditions that can be thought of as a series of layers with their own unique qualities. From the ground up, the dark, wet forest floor is the realm of ferns and fungi. Shady characters that enjoy the moisture. The conditions are kept stable by the next layer, the dense understory. Young trees push their way through shrubs, creepers and herbs. Towering above them, the canopy, the leaves, buds, flowers and fruits of giant trees, creating a huge green umbrella over the forest. The canopy is dense, filtering light and giving the forest its characteristic dingy mood lighting. Of course, overhead there's a fierce tropical sun. Only the tops of the trees feel its force. In the final story, the emergent layer. Each section of the forest supports different animal and plant species. More than 10 million varieties in total. Most have carved out distinct niches, specializing in one zone. But there are a few that bridge the gap. It's not just birds who build nests in the trees. This cluster of leaves and branches is the nursery for the long-snouted clowns of the forest, coatis. Cousins of the raccoon, coatis share the mischievous burglar-style face masks and long banded tails. But the snouts are all their own. The little ones have been living here in the nest for 3 weeks since their birth. But they're getting fidgety and will soon want to stretch their legs and explore the canopy. It will be a very dangerous time for them. They have neighbors on the floor above that would gladly invite a young coati to dinner. The harpy eagle, one of the biggest predatory birds on the planet. She's built her huge nest in the emergent layer, the top of the forest. Fortunately, she's grabbing branches from the canopy, not coatis. She uses the same nest year on year and is constantly adding to the construction. Her mate has brought lunch. Not a coati this time, but a monkey. One of their preferred prey. Eagles are long-term partners and will work together to prepare their young for a life above the forest. Huge trees are the foundation of the rainforest, and the canopy can stretch unbroken as far as the eye can see. Most animals seem insignificant against the scale of the trees, but there are a few that can really make their presence felt. The Congo Basin supports the second largest rainforest. It's mostly a dense green tangle of trees. Unbroken, apart from the passage of rivers. Except for the occasional bald spot. These clearings are not accidental. They are the work of giants. Forest elephants have been coming here for centuries to drink up mineral-rich mud. Their digging for salt is what stops trees from recolonizing the land. Rainforests are not good places for minerals. The daily rainfall washes precious nutrients from the soil. A sodium-light diet leaves elephants with salt cravings. But their apparent destruction creates opportunities for a host of other animals and plants. Normally, the canopy blocks out the sun, but here, light can penetrate, giving sun-needy plants, like grass, the chance to grow. The salty cocktails excavated by the elephants, accompanied by a fresh green salad, lures shy forest dwellers into the open. Everything from parrots to buffalo. Even some of our closest cousins. Western lowland gorillas cautiously emerge as a troop. The dominant male, the silverback, leads the way. And under his watchful gaze, the whole troop can pig out on lush sedges and herbs. It's not long before bellies are bulging and the podgy primates can waddle back to the jungle. Primates inhabit all of the world's jungles, apart from this one. This is the northeast corner of Australia. The Daintree Rainforest is the oldest on Earth, little changed for 180 million years. Australia broke away from the other continents of the world early on. Its inhabitants evolved in isolation and are truly unique. There are no primates here, no monkeys swinging through the trees. Instead, tree kangaroos. These wacky marsupials have gone full circle in their evolution. Their earliest ancestors lived in the rainforest trees. They moved to the ground and started to hop, gradually evolving into wallabies and kangaroos, ideally suited for bounding over open ground. But the tree kangaroos returned to the canopy, where they could enjoy the foliage with little competition. The kangaroo shape is only slightly modified, and it might take this joey a while to get the hang of climbing safely through the branches. Any young arboreal animals have to find their feet quickly or face a lethal fall. Especially in the giant trees of the Amazon. The coatis, now over a month old, are keen to explore. Their tails are longer than the raccoons to help keep their balance and grip the branches. To deliver her litter, the coati mother sought solitude in the branches. But now she encourages her youngsters to leave the nest. It's time to rejoin the clan. Step 1. A lot of sniffing. Only females and their young live in groups. Dad's no longer around. It won't take long for the clan to unite. A good safety strategy in the forest. They're not the only socialites hanging about. Orupendula like company. In noisy colonies, they carefully construct architectural wonders. Hanging nests. The complicated structures are built to try and keep their chicks out of the reach of snakes. They're more or less predator-proof. Until a toucan arrives. Dressed like a circus clown, he looks more panto than predator. But that colourful beak is ideal for reaching into nests. The colony unite, doing their best to drive the marauder away, but not soon enough to stop him from kidnapping. Birds are like spectacular jewels in the crown of the forest. And few steal the show more than macaws, the largest of parrots. Though the dazzling hues look like they'd stand out like a sore thumb, the bold, geometric blocks of color break up any recognizable bird shapes, making them surprisingly hard to spot in the canopy. They move from one tree to another to find the ripest fruit, their favorite food. Again, rainforest food is a bit bland. There's not much salt. But like the African elephants, the birds are driven to find some. So they form noisy flocks, colorful clouds that descend on eroding riverbanks to munch on mineral-rich soil. More than half of the world's bird species live in rainforest, each carving out their own distinctive niche. This specialization has led to a spectacular array of shapes and sizes. Most are delicate beauties, but there are giants. The Australian rainforest boasts the biggest. The huge, flightless cassowary. In many bird species, females are bigger than males. And this is one big girl. About the height and weight of the average man. She has an appetite to match and listens carefully for the thud of falling fruit that might guide her to her next meal. While Australia has the biggest rainforest birds, South America is home to the smallest. This hummingbird weighs about as much as a penny. She and the nest she carefully constructs are so tiny that they can be supported by a single leaf. The minute nursery of leaves and moss has been woven together with spider silk, making it flexible but strong. The smaller a warm-blooded animal is, the higher its metabolism, because it needs so much energy to stay warm. To keep up the calorie count, she must eat every 10 minutes or so, and so spends most of her time dashing to find flowering plants and the sugary, energy-rich nectar she craves. The chick must do something of a sword-swallowing act every time he wants food. And in between meals, he's gently rocked to sleep in his hummingbird hammock. The tiny birds are kept so busy that they barely notice the Coati clan moving through. The cubs are finally ready to bridge the gap from the canopy to the forest floor. Excitement spreads through the youngsters. This should be a foraging mission, but all they can think of is fun and games. but they need to be careful. The dense vegetation of the understory can conceal many dangers. Their antics wake a killer. The rattlesnake has a deadly venom. But fortunately, it gives a warning before it strikes. The rattle is its first line of defense. At first, it draws the curious cubs, but they have the good sense to back off before the snake launches a full attack. Mother decides her family better head up. That's enough adventure for one day. The dark and dingy forest floor is a world in its own right for the creatures that have learned to exploit it. They are dependent on gifts from above. Fallen leaves slowly rot, enriching the ground. Many canopy inhabitants play their part in feeding the understory, often under the cover of darkness. Forests can seem spooky when the lights go out. Many creepy crawlies are ready to go bump in the night. And for many people, bats are the ultimate specters. But of course, like all animals, they just go about their business and are vital to the health of the forest. Many bats are insect hunters and help control populations of biting insects and other pests. But there are some that favor a more vegetarian diet. By moving from flower to feed, the bats are spreading pollen, fertilizing plants. By day, bees and other insects are well-known pollinators. Bats are the night shift. Bats are among the most abundant of all mammals, with more species than any other mammalian family. In both diversity and abundance, they account for 1/5 of mammal kind. Some are small and solitary, but others are big and social. In such huge numbers, the presence of these giants really makes a difference. By night, they fly from tree to tree, covering huge distances, not only helping the plant's sex life, but consuming its fruit. Then as they travel, they eject the remains. Seeds are carried in their droppings and spread far and wide. It's a courier service that helps trees colonize new parts of the forest. Then, as the sun begins to rise, the bats hang themselves up, ready to sleep through the day. Even in rest, the huge colonies play their part, showering the forest floor beneath with nutrient-rich guano. But it's not the only way nutrients are transported from one layer to the next. Leafcutter ants are perhaps the hardest workers in the rainforest. Here in the Amazon, tireless workers use oversized jaws to trim off large pieces of leaf. Every morsel is not for the individual, but to be transported home for the good of the colony. Each ant can carry 20 times its own body weight, even down the vertical tree trunks. The leaves are not food for ants. Instead, they use it to feed fungi. They are miniature farmers. They build their nests, offering protection to the fungi, and carefully clean the mounds to keep germs and other pests at bay. Periodically, they feed, harvesting a little of their carefully cultivated crop. The ants will attack anything that invades their home. And yet somehow, this frog passes unharmed. The ants communicate with their own special chemical signals, helping them to identify other members of their colony. But the frog has cracked their code. It secretes a chemical signature almost identical to the ants. Welcomed as a member of the family, the frog can use the climate-controlled chambers in the ant's nest as a safe place to raise its own young. Live-in bodyguards are useful. For this little mouse, the forest floor is a risky place to raise her young. From birth, they are pink blobs that can't see or hear. They are totally defenseless when danger looms. The large fangs of a tarantula can pack a punch, capable of unleashing more than enough venom to kill a mouse. But the mother stands her ground. The spider decides to avoid a potentially damaging bite from an angry mother. She has a family of her own to protect. A spider's lair, the stuff of nightmares. A deadly place for anyone who takes a wrong turn. Is this frog on a suicide mission? It's another cheetah who has everything under control. Whether the frog mimics the spider's own scent or whether there is a more complex recognition is unknown. But there are certain kinds of frogs and certain large spiders that seem to be friends, or at least leave each other unharmed so they can share the same digs. It's thought that the tiny frogs might help keep the tarantula's nursery free from parasites, while the diminutive amphibian is in turn protected by the spider. There are more than 50 million species of invertebrates making a living in rainforests, and many more that humans haven't yet discovered. They inhabit every part of the forest, from the treetops to deep underground. Their weight combined far outweighs the mass of mammals and birds. They are vital to the functioning of the forest, keeping plants in check and providing food for many other species. An African beetle is being stalked by a stealth hunter. The praying mantis. Its folded arms like coiled springs, ready to reach out and grab their prey with needle-covered limbs. With complex food chains everywhere, it's not always easy to see who is hunting who. There is always something bigger, the next link in the food chain. The Amazon's coatis will eat almost anything and use their sharp claws and long snouts to rummage through the leaf litter for any grubs, bugs, lizards, just about anything they can find. But their noisy troops can attract trouble of their own. They are being watched by the Amazon's greatest predator, the jaguar. A master of stealth, the cat uses its spotted coat to blend in and set an ambush for its prey. Fortunately, its attention is distracted by a band of peccary, pig-like animals that rummage through the mud for nuts and roots. Their family groups, or sounders, are usually on high alert. Bacon is always a welcome feast. But the jaguar takes its time. When it moves, padded feet silence every footstep. But the coati mother spots the cat. Her family race to get out of reach. Sounding the alarm, the coatis give the peccary a lucky break. The jaguar reflects on its failure. Better luck next time. Back in the trees, the coatis don't need to go hungry. They love fruit and nuts. As they forage, they knock some of their crop to the ground, sharing some nutrients from the top to the bottom of the forest. The fallen fruits will feed some of the true ground dwellers. The heaviest animals in South America, tapirs, are certainly not built for climbing. But their prehensile trunks are ideal for gathering leaves and fallen fruit. There is one dropped crop that defeats them: the Brazil nut. Down here, only one animal has the tools for the job: the built-in nutcracker teeth of an agouti. Dropped fruit is not always the blessing it appears to be. A duiker, a small forest antelope, has found some fallen treasure in its African rainforest home. It's fallen from the hands of bonobos. The question is, was it dropped accidentally or on purpose? Perhaps it was a clever lure. The agile primates pounce on their dinner guest. Bonobos are often considered the most peaceful of primates, but they are certainly not vegetarian. The carcass is shredded and shared around the troop, with priority for the best bits going to the highest ranking individuals. Setting traps and using tools are common traits in bonobos, and their chimpanzee lookalikes. Primates really thrive in the lush rainforest. The abundance and quality of food here fueled their evolution and led to increased brain size and intelligence. And it didn't stop with chimps. This was the journey that led to the evolution of our own ancestors. Still today, there are unique peoples and cultures in remote corners of the jungle. There are about 1,000 distinct indigenous tribes living in rainforest, each with their own customs, languages, and ancient knowledge. And the livelihoods of more than 1 billion people depend directly on living in the rainforest. But now, ironically, we seem to be turning on the very birthplace of our family tree. Rainforest hardwoods like teak and mahogany are very valuable. Millions are cut for timber. These trees are huge, but there might only be a few big enough in one area to harvest. Still, lesser trees are cut to get to the giants. And when the giants fall, they crush dozens of smaller trees. A huge area can be destroyed to harvest just a few large trees. They can bring great profit to the owner of the logging company, but it's a one-off reward. When they have gone, the forest will probably never recover. There is no sustainability here. One person gets rich, but at a loss to all of the plants, animals, and people in the region. In West Africa, 90% of the rainforest is already gone. Many species, including our closest cousins, the great apes, are at threat. And the roads built for logging open up the forest for poaching and other illegal harvest of natural resources. We can all help. 70 to 80% of wood from Brazil and Indonesia has been taken illegally. Check for certification of any wood products to make sure they were harvested sustainably. In Brazil, 80% of the deforested areas are used for rearing beef cattle. We could stop eating imported beef and reduce meat in our diets, reducing the need for land. Palm oil is another rapidly growing industry. Clearing rainforest to use the land, we can avoid products containing palm oil. A lot of rainforest trees are mushed up to make paper. Consumers can buy recycled paper and recycle what you use. They seem like little steps, but if everyone did them, the future of the rainforest and the health of the planet and its incredible wildlife would look a lot more secure.